Okay, so hi everyone, welcome back to CATKing. This is Anisha here in conversation with Arjun. I'm sure you guys have, by now seen up the whole journey from engineering to prepping for CAT, the experiences at IIM Ahmedabad and Calcutta. Let's talk about, the most awaited and your shortest and sweet interview at FMS. How was it for you?
Well, FMS was, when they released the shortlist, we had around, around about 800 people or 750 people who were shortlisted, but the interviews were scheduled between 22nd to 29th of April. And all of us aspirants were like, 7 days for these interviews, what are they going to do? And it was fairly expected that the interview was going to be quite short, which is what it turned out to be. 10 minutes of interview. We were quite sure that there's going to be an extempore, which was what happened. So they gave us, at FMS, they let you know that this is what the format is going to be. Excuse me. Followed by a few questions, and I think FMS was probably my second nicest panel. The nicest was definitely Kozhikode. They didn't ask me anything. Okay. But FMS asked me very basic questions. It was the most conversational of all interviews.
Okay, interesting. They came up with the whole new process. They'll have an extempore, an SOP discussion, and then a personal interview. So you wrapped up all of this in 10 minutes.
Yeah, just 10 minutes. They didn't go. It was again more of breadth, not of depth. So ask me a question, answer. Okay, fair enough. Next question.
Next, great. What was your extempore topic?
This is my work setup, and if I can just move my camera, if you just see over here, there is a collection of books.
Okay.
So the panelists saw a lot of books in my background. So my question was, my extempore topic was, I love books.
Okay.
So it was quite straightforward and very, interestingly, my father, my family, we run a book publishing firm. Okay. So I have a history of, books in my family. So I had a lot to talk about, even though I had just about 60 seconds, 10 seconds to prepare, 60 seconds to talk. So yeah, it was very easy. I had a lot to talk about. I remembered the first book I'd ever read as a kid. So I just started it from there and ended it on what I was reading currently.
That's so nice. That's like a complete journey. What kind of questions were you asked with respect to your SOP?
Okay, so I had written specifically in my SOP that I like to improve processes at a broad level. I remember this part, and that was picked up. I had there were two panelists, a male and a female. So the female panelist asked me my question on the SOP, that what do you mean by that? And I gave my answer like, I'm very I have this good habit of finding out problems in day-to-day operations. And I cited an example from my time at PwC where our team, a fairly new team, attrition was quite high. And I pinpointed to my partner, the leader of the team, that I think this is the reason why it's so high. It was because we were only going for, high-level employees. And I suggested that we follow a higher policy of, getting in interns, promoting them within their internship, after their internship, and then training them into particular segments. So I think it was very well received at PwC, and I think this answer also, supported the point I make. I look to, improve process at a broad level. So there was a loophole that existed in my organization. That's how I tried to take charge and fix that.
That's lovely and interesting. What kind of other questions were you asked? Like anything out of the box or regular hygiene questions?
Yeah, I was asked. FMS, the interview was very nice, but some of the questions were quite challenging as well. I was asked the number of villages in India.
Okay.
And I bombed that question terribly. I said around 50,000-60,000. 50,000-60,000 villages is the count of villages in Maharashtra. So there are about 6.5. So I missed it by a mile. But I was very confident and I said, yeah, I think thousands, tens of thousands. I was also asked about the judicial system of India. I was asked what are the different tiers of our judiciary. So I could answer till the district level, but thereafter there's a whole set of courts that operate that I couldn't answer.
Why were you asked?
Another thing,
system. Have you mentioned something?
I really don't know. Absolutely not. It came out of nowhere. Both the villages question and the judicial system question just came out of nowhere.
Okay.
So I had to rely on what I knew from my past readings or from news and stuff.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know why they asked me that. I don't even have any remote connection to law. Yeah.
Interesting.
One question, if you can just add, I mean, like I mentioned with my extempore was I love books, right? It ended with a book that I had previously mentioned. I was reading this book called Delhi, Shwan Singh. So turns out that the panelist had read that book, and he started quizzing me on that, and he just wanted to know whether I was just mentioning it or whether I had actually read it.
Okay.
So his question, I mean, there's something very particular about that book, very very interesting. It's the point of view from which it is written. It switches between every chapter.
Okay.
So it alternates between two different POVs. So
Okay.
that is what he asked me about.
Hmm.
So a person who's probably just naming books and who hasn't read that book
Will
would
not.
probably get caught here.
Yeah. True.
So that was my reasoning, and when I said what he wanted me to say, he was like, "Yeah, that's what I wanted to know." Basically, he was just testing whether I knew it, whether I'd actually read the book or not.
That's interesting. So it's always good to talk about things you've actually done and be honest rather than,
Yeah, yeah,
picking up things. It's easy to catch you, and you don't even know the panelist has really read the book and all of those aspects. So that's interesting.
I mean, you can faff slightly. I mean, you can exaggerate something. Okay, probably had you stood second in your final year project in your college, but you say, okay, no, I won the first position. You can say that. I mean, something that cannot be. I mean, I'm not saying don't. I mean, you can exaggerate a little,
Exaggerate,
but don't be. But don't be. I mean, yeah, don't make it silly.
true. That's it's a thin line which is there. Sometimes, you kind of
Yeah,
boast a lot. It's okay to put in a little.
and yeah,
I mean, it's framing your answer as well. If you can put it across
exactly.
nicely, that's a good thing which is there. Let's not teach them a lot of wrong techniques, but so coming back to it, so how was your FMS preparation? Because like even FMS gave a very short span of time once the results were announced, the new process. So what all things did you rev up for Extempory and all of them?
um, to be very frank, as a student, I have been heavily involved in public speaking. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't think I mentioned this in the previous
Hmm.
discussions, but public speaking has been a big part of my life.
Wow.
I did mention it in most of my interviews as well.
Okay.
But as a student, I had gone for many in college as well as in school for many extemporary competitions. So I was fairly confident. Ki, "Theek hai, you give me a topic, I'll talk about it." I was not, I mean, very concerned about that. What I was concerned about was that 22nd of April was when my interview was. Sorry, 24th or 22nd, I don't remember. But that was, I mean, 2 months from my last interview for Ahmedabad. That was on 21st of Feb. So I had a 2 month gap. And in that 2 month gap, I had chilled. Like I had stopped preparing. I was just taking a break. I had quit my job. I was very happy. I mean, even though COVID is a bad situation, but I was at home. I was just doing my thing. So what really worried me was, okay, I don't know enough of what's going on. Current affairs point perspective was what I studied then is not relevant now.
Yeah.
So I had to, diligently read. I mean, what I did was I picked up newspapers from the previous 7 days and next 7 days. So I just focused on 14 days of newspapers. And I thought that was enough. Uh, that they didn't ask much stuff about current affairs anyway. So it
They
didn't
didn't really
really
have much
matter at
time
the end of
to
the day.
grill you in
Yeah, there wasn't much time.
but that's interesting. Great. So any piece of advice you would like to give people for their SOP, because this was a new concept which
Yeah,
came SOP discussion, and when you write your SOPs before CAT, that to just 100 words. So anything that you
100 words.
tell them?
Well, 100 words is a challenge. And I don't know whether I'm giving the right advice here or not. But from my perspective, those 100 words, you need to tell them who you are. What kind of a person are you? What gets you out of the bed in the morning? And what your thought process is. I think many students must have written this and they might be right, I might be wrong, but I don't think they want to know what you want to do after an MBA. Even though it says it's a statement of purpose, I think it's a more of a character sketch that is required. And that's what and interestingly, they had given you 500 words to talk about your job or your work ex. So those who want to, use that and say, I want to do whatever, you had that space to do that. I think the state SOP was just about, what kind of a person are you? And where do you want to go? Not about, okay, I want to go to a consulting firm after MBA and this is my long-term plan. on a broad scale, you can say, I want to be a CEO 10, 15 years later. That's fine. That might be getting you out of the bed in the morning, but I don't think they want to know, okay, marketing mein karna hai or finance and stuff like that. So it has to be a character sketch about yourself, condensed in 100 words. It's very difficult, but you have to give it thought.
It surely has to give a reflection of who you are, because at the end of the day, that's the whole objective of saying that's your statement of purpose. Why is Arjun than the other person? Otherwise, it's same 100 words for 10 people. It doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
So that's a really amazing piece of advice. So thank you so much, Arjun. It was a pleasure having a conversation with you. All the best and stay in touch.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, man.
Thank you.